All right, let's dive in. Today, we're exploring a virtual world that's, well, it's way more than just a game. It's actually a pretty deep training simulation designed to teach us some profound lessons about survival, strategy, and how to solve problems in the real world.
So, that's really the big question here, isn't it? Can a game, a simulated reality, actually give us the mental tools to handle real-life challenges? The people who made this game are betting that it can, and they've built an entire world just to prove it.
The game is called Excalibur AOP 2, and the premise is, honestly, it's pretty epic. After this huge invasion, the world is shattered into these isolated continents. Your job? Reconnect them. Rebuild civilization from scratch. But you don't start with an army or a castle or anything like that. No, you start with nothing.
And this is where the first lesson just bam, it hits you hard. The game puts you on the defensive immediately. They call it the caveman level, and it's brutally simple. Your health is just constantly ticking down. So you're not fighting monsters, you're fighting entropy. Your first big enemy isn't some bad guy, it's just survival.
So, how do you solve that? Well, the game forces your thinking to evolve. You start out totally reactive, right? Just hunting and gathering whatever you can to keep that health bar up. But you realize pretty fast that's not going to work long term. You have to shift to subsistence farming. And then, the final step, you have to get proactive and create these strategic planting systems. You have to build a system that solves the survival problem for you.
To help you do this, the game gives you something more than just items. It gives you new ways of seeing the world. This toolkit is inspired by the Zodiac, but don't think of them like magic powers. They're more like new analytical frameworks, new lenses to observe, evaluate, and then act on what's around you.
The first tool you get is the Libra system, and it's all about the art of observation. I mean, in a world with no instruction manual, how do you know what's safe to eat? Simple. You learn to watch the animals. The Libra system lets you compare their genome to yours, and if there's a high compatibility, chances are what's safe for them is safe for you. You're not just guessing, you're building a real database from sound ecological principles.
Okay, so you know what's safe. What's next? Evaluation. The Leo system lets you analyze the long-term value of a food source. Is this thing going to grow back next year? How much food are you actually going to get from it? It completely shifts your thinking from, what can I eat right now, to what's the smartest, most sustainable thing I can grow for the future?
And the final piece of this whole agricultural puzzle is the Taurus system, which is pure strategy. It gives you all the data on things like sunlight, humidity, what nutrients are in the soil. You're not just a farmer anymore. You're more like an agricultural architect. And that's the core idea here. To solve a complex problem, you have to move from observation to evaluation and finally to strategy. You're creating a self-sustaining engine for survival.
So, you're feeling pretty good, right? You've got your systems running, you've achieved stability, and that's exactly when the game throws a massive curveball. The problem changes. It's not about long-term sustainability anymore. Now, it's about a sudden life-or-death crisis that's going to test the very system you just finished building.
The entire vibe of the game just shifts in an instant. This person stumbles into your camp and just collapses. They're poisoned. And all that hard work you put into your food supply, suddenly it has a whole new meaning. You're not just a farmer anymore. Now, you're a doctor.
And the pressure is immediately on. A clock appears on screen and starts counting down from 24 hours. The stakes are suddenly so much higher. It's not about your own survival now. It's about using what you've built to save someone else. And you are on a deadline.
The game gives you another tool for this, the Cancer system, which is basically a diagnostic scanner. Now, it doesn't just hand you the answer, it's smarter than that. It lets you measure the patient's stats and see exactly what's needed for a cure, helping you define the problem with total precision.
And here is where it all clicks together so beautifully. The cure isn't some rare, magical herb you have to go on a quest for. It's the food. The very food you've been so systematically cultivating. You look at the table and it's all there. To boost cell regeneration, you need protein. You've got those leguminous nuts stored. To fight the poison, you need oils from the oil-producing nuts you planted. You thought you were building a farm, but you actually built a pharmacy.
Okay, so the patient is stabilized. You can breathe for a second, but you're not done. Treating the symptoms only bought you time. It didn't solve the actual problem. To really find a cure, you have to go to the source. You've got to trace that poison all the way back to where it came from.
And the game gives you this little piece of wisdom, this metaphor about creating a fire belt. You don't fight a raging wildfire with a bucket of water. You have to think bigger.
You strategically burn a patch of land ahead of it to starve it of fuel. You use the nature of the problem to create a barrier against itself. It's a huge hint that the solution and the problem are one and the same.
This clue leads you straight to the Scorpio system, which is all about traceability. And this tool is incredible. It lets you take a specific problem, in this case the poison, and literally map it backward through the entire ecosystem to find its origin. It's basically ecological forensics.
So you activate the Scorpio system, and it shows you what the game calls the venomous supply chain. You watch as the toxin moves from a little mammal to a larger predator to an apex scavenger. The map scans the whole continent, and it just narrows and narrows until it points to a single ominous black spot, the source.
You get to that black spot gearing up for what you think is going to be a tough but, normal boss fight. But what you find there is something else entirely. It's a creature that doesn't just have a lot of hit points, it seems to literally break the rules of the game.
It's a basilisk, and when you scan it, its main stat just reads immortal. That's it. You can't hurt it with normal attacks. This isn't a problem you can solve with brute force. It's a metaphysical problem. It's a logic puzzle disguised as a monster.
So how in the world do you defeat something that can't be defeated? You have to look closer at the system. The basilisk's weaknesses are fascinatingly specific. It can be harmed by its own fangs, its own deadly gaze reflected back at it, or by phoenix tears, which symbolize rebirth and outrank it on a metaphysical level. The keys to its destruction are actually part of its own identity. And then, you have the biggest revelation of all. You scan your own character, and you discover that your unique background, your affiliations in the game's lore, they just so happen to grant you complete invulnerability to everything the basilisk can do. By the game's own deep-coded logic, you are its natural predator. And that is the ultimate lesson. Victory didn't come from grinding levels or finding a more powerful sword. It came from analysis, from understanding the connections between every single system, Libra, Leo, Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, and realizing your own place within that system was the ultimate key. You don't fight the basilisk, you use its own rules to make it defeat itself.
And this brings us all the way back to the real world. The game teaches us to stop looking at problems in isolation and start seeing the interconnected systems running underneath everything. It makes you ask yourself, what are the invisible rules, the metaphysical challenges in our own lives, in our work? And what new ways of seeing, what new tools of analysis do we need to build to truly understand and solve